Hi there, and yes, you're watching Dukascopy TV. I have in the studio today Sven Behrendt, founder of GeoEconomica, to have a look at global risks that investors should keep an eye out for. So Sven, great to have you back in the studio, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well.
So Sven, you think it's imperative for investors to, integrate political risks in order to evaluate, the situation? Can you tell me more about this?
The great geopolitical strategist Henry Kissinger said once, "An issue ignored is a crisis invited." And I think he's really, he's making really a strong point that in the future, after having witnessed all the political turbulences in Europe, in the United States, in the Middle East, that we should actually be a little bit more consistent about policy analysis, looking into the different drivers that move politics on the global scale, and then integrate that into our models. I mean, of course, it is difficult for financial analysts or macroeconomists who normally live by the numbers to include data that perhaps can only be expressed in a qualitative nature. But nonetheless, I think that we should be doing better if we were to integrate political risk factors into our financial analysis. So I would strongly argue, yes, without it, you ignore an issue and you invite a crisis.
And Sven, why do you think politics will have more of an impact in the future than it actually did in the past?
We still remember the hypothesis about the world is flat. And that was, of course, saying that we should discount political risk factors as we analyze economics and the economic environment. The world is not flat. It is actually quite rocky. It's hot and it's difficult. At the time, Bill Clinton, I think it was in the beginning of the 1990s, won his elections on the basis of the statement that it's the economy stupid. Now politics matters much more than, say 20 years ago. Politics is back on the agenda. And as I said, the world is not flat anymore, but it's actually quite difficult, complex, volatile. And politics certainly plays a major role in global economics and structuring a global investment environment.
And last year we saw how much politics had an impact on prices. Now, what are the hotspots that we should be looking out for in the future?
I think the hotspots that still have specific resonance on financial markets, on the global economic outlook, of course, are the European debt crisis. The European debt crisis that, of course, caused a lot of impetus for reform of the Eurozone. So we should be looking out how the Eurozone is going to develop the institutions that it needs to stabilize the euro. Second is certainly whatever happens in the US Congress. We see deep political divides in the United States, and we have to see how that is going to play out. Third, the Middle East, of course, is going to be with us for the foreseeable future. The revolutions that we had seen in the Arab world are not going to play out ultimately, necessarily rather, in a democratic fashion, but we will see a lot of disruption and unrest across the Middle East and North Africa region. And then certainly we will see the rise of China that is going to influence how global politics is going to shape up. In particular, US-Chinese relations are going to determine how stable the geopolitical outlook is. And all these four risk factors, of course, are going to have a serious impact on how markets are going to behave in the coming months and the coming years. I would also certainly look out into the issue of nuclear proliferation. Nuclear proliferation is certainly something that should be on our radar screens. We have the Iranian program and, of course, the Israeli-Iranian conflict about that program. We have question marks about the future stability of the Korean Peninsula, and of course Pakistan, a nuclear power that has most recently seen some political unrest. So these are three hotspots that we should certainly have on our watch list if we talk about nuclear proliferation.
And looking directly at the World Economic Forum's Global Risk 2013 report, what should we be looking out for in this report that may help investors?
I think the report gives a fantastic overview about the systemic nature of global risks. It looks at different risk categories or different risk environments, put it that way, and it exemplifies how these risk environments are related and how they drive each other. But it has its limitations. As we look into this global risk environment, what we have to do is to apply these risk environment to the specific situation of the individual investor. I always say risks are idiosyncratic. Risks play out in a different manner with regard to each individual investor. So it is really upon each individual investor or financial institution to look at that report and then to figure out how these global risks and how the global risk environment is going to impact on portfolios and performances.
Thank you very much, Sven.
Pleasure.
And thank you for watching Dukascopy TV. Now do have a look at the website because I covered the United Nations conference last week. But for now, goodbye.